Hi, dear Toastmasters. Welcome to Toastmasters, the world's biggest platform to hone your leadership skills and communication skills. At Toastmasters, we pride on calling where leaders are made. Not just leaders, confident leaders. Not just speakers, confident speakers. Our guest tonight is a confident leader. I am Veera Sriram, your public relations manager. A Toastmaster who has always served to grow our district, a Toastmaster who is a club mentor for Bentley Toastmasters, a Toastmaster who is a division director, a Toastmaster who I can call a friend. Without any further ado, let me welcome my dear good friend, Toastmaster Kristen, onto our talk show. Toastmaster Kristen, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Vera. How could I be better being able to spend some time with you today on Open Heart?
Thank you for coming down and talking with us today. Toastmasters Christian, the first question I ask my friends is Toastmasters journey. Where did it start? How did it start? And why did it start? Would you like to share something about that?
Sure will, Vera. It's funny the things that you remember. The first time you did something, the first time you heard something. And I remember the first time I heard Toastmasters. It was actually in an environment you would not think I heard of Toastmasters. I was driving up with my uncle to the Detroit Auto Show. We were in Michigan in the car, and he was talking about his company and some of the outside activities in his company, and the name Toastmasters came up. I was intrigued by this. He mentioned that it was a public speaking club. And when I first heard Toastmasters, I'm like, why the toast? It's inside a company. What does toast mean? And he let me know, well, it's for special occasions, but it doesn't have to just be for special occasions. It can be for any sort of speaking in general. Well, to that, Vera, I have to tell you, I said, well, that's interesting. I hate public speaking and I have a fear of it. I probably will never join a Toastmasters club, but I'll remember that there's Toastmasters clubs available. Fast forward in school, when a conference would come up, a meeting that I would have to attend with a large number of people, I'd love to go there and present the material that I was doing. But I'd always have that fear of, am I going to have to give a presentation or can I just give a poster session? I did not want to do the presentation. My technique would be Savior by PowerPoint. It would be my raft. I would essentially read the PowerPoint, stare straight ahead, and just plow through the presentation to just get done with it and be done with the fear of speaking in front of people. I figured once I got out of school and I got to work, I'm a technical guy. I wouldn't really need to do meetings. I wouldn't need to do a lot of presentations. I could just put my head down at my desk and continue to work. Well, rude awakening I had when I got to work, having to go to weekly meetings. Not presentations, but weekly meetings alone were stressful to me. I had to speak in front of a group of my peers and tell them what I was doing on the fly. Nonetheless, I was asked to give program briefs in front of the group. I told myself, I need to do something about this. And it came back to my head. My uncle said about Toastmasters in the company. I wonder if my company had Toastmasters. And sure enough, my home club in Lincoln Laboratories, they had a Toastmasters club. So I attended the club and I was the guest who sat in the back for 9 months before I gave my icebreaker, prompted by my mentor. And I finally got up there, gave that icebreaker speech, and I felt so good about it. I really didn't become very active for probably the next year or so. I gave sporadic speeches and I said, why am I here? I'm here to get better as a speaker. And I made it my goal to knock off the Competent Communicator Manual, the old educational program. And during that time, some of the club officers saw me and they said, well, it looks like Christian's becoming more active in the club. We should ask him if he wants to be an officer. Well, let me tell you, Vera, that was not what I told myself I signed up for Toastmasters for. I was there to get comfortable speaking, not to be a leader of the club. I didn't know how to do that. And that's not what I planned on doing either. But the president of the club did a great job in convincing me to take up the secretary role. One thing led to another. I was the president twice of the club. I'm currently treasurer of the club. Then took on a district role as the area director. And now one thing led to another. 10 years later, which I never thought I would be here as the Division A director. So that's a whirlwind tour of my experience as Toastmasters.
Congratulations on a fabulous 10 years with Toastmasters, Toastmasters Christian. So happy. My next question is, what keeps you at Toastmasters? You told how you started Toastmasters, but what keeps you at Toastmasters right now?
Great question, Veer. What keeps me at Toastmasters? First and foremost is self-improvement. I'm on a bit of a self-improvement kick right now with a lot of the books that I'm reading, but in general, I feel that self-improvement is what motivates me to be excited about life, to take a little bit each day and to get better. Being part of Toastmasters does that for me. As good as a speaker you are, even the world champions of public speaking can always get better. Personally, something that I'm working on right now is I feel that I'm not very good at storytelling. And I've told myself what I want to do is I want to incorporate more stories into my speeches. That's one of my goals right now. It's something I'm going to challenge myself with. The other thing that keeps me coming back to Toastmasters Veer is seeing others succeed. Looking at them, knowing that I was in that position 10 years ago, petrified to get up to that lectern, and seeing people get up, give speeches, and feel great about it after they're done. It's such a gratifying feeling to see fellow Toastmasters be able to get over that fright and to give a wonderful speech.
Valuable points, Toastmasters Christian. I would definitely agree with improving a little every day, and that little improvement can become a compounding effect over multiple years. I definitely agree with that. Toastmasters Christian, I see a passion in you for Bentley Toastmasters just to do something for them. Where does that energy come from? Where does that passion come from?
Well, Vera, that's a great question. I mentioned before about graduate school and going to meetings and conferences, and that was a great part of my life. And I wish that I would have seized the opportunity if there was a Toastmasters club, which I did not look for at that point, as I told you in the beginning. That's not something I thought I would ever be able to do. But if somebody would have convinced me that Toastmasters could have helped me with both my speaking and leadership skills as a graduate student, one of the best times of my life, I would have loved for somebody to do that for me. So my energy here in working with you, also with them here, having great people around me, is to bring that to the students and to show them what Toastmasters can do for them. This is not a course with homework assignments. It's an extracurricular activity that can be applied to everything in life. It can be applied to your courses. It can be applied to everyday life, everyday social situations. And bringing that to graduate students earlier in their life than later in their life, I feel is a mission of Toastmasters, and it gets me excited.
Amazing gratitude, Toastmasters Christian. I wish when I graduated from Bentley, I had Toastmasters back then, but never late than never. So at least, it's coming there. Toastmasters Christian, we know you're a Division A director. Any goals for Division A this year?
Yeah, Veer, I do have several goals. The Division A director is a position that I haven't been in before. It's sort of a middle management position where I was an area director before this, as I stated before. And my goal as a division director isn't to enable the area directors. They're, in my opinion, them and the club officers, they're doing all the hard work to get the members in the clubs to succeed. It's my job to make their job easy. I want to bring my experience that I had as a previous area director, bring all of that experience I had, information I had, and hand it off to the area directors, make it very easy for them. I don't want them to have to go out and search for information. The more effort they have to put in finding out what they need to do, the less they can do on focusing on the clubs, helping clubs succeed and helping members succeed. And in that as well, although I'm not going to be the one doing all the hard work, will be the area directors and the club officers, I'd like to see the infusion of fun into meetings to make sure all Toastmaster meetings are fun. That is the core of recruitment and membership retainment. So making it easy for my team to do their job, to grow Toastmasters Club, and to make those meetings fun and get people coming back.
Thank you, Toastmasters, for sharing that. I wish you are successful as a Division A director. Toastmasters, now we move to our second segment of of our talk show, which is the impact of Toastmasters on your personal life, professional life, social and spiritual life. Would you like to talk about that?
Well, the first thing I'd like to mention was public speaking. The reason I joined Toastmasters to just become more comfortable with that. And it's been so much more than becoming more comfortable. If I look at my presentations, I don't have that anxiety anymore. When somebody asks me, even months in advance, I think you need to give a presentation for work, or I'd like to give you to give a presentation outside of work. Previously, I would have stressed about that, thinking if I even wanted to do it. Now, there's a preparation that goes into it, but I accept it, and I accept it graciously as being able to present information to people using the skills that I learned from Toastmasters and the confidence that it's giving me as a public speaker. Not only that, I found that as a Toastmaster continually giving speeches, an unintended side effect that that's giving me is how do you be concise in your wording? We have time constraints in our meetings, time constraints in our speeches. Previously, I was very wordy with the point I was trying to get across. There used to be a project, get to the point. How do we get to the point and then move on to the next point to keep people engaged? So it's done wonders for me in public speaking. Impromptu speaking, as I mentioned before, speaking at meetings, I didn't even want to do that. I want to just hide in the corner and just let me out of the meeting and do my work. Impromptu speaking in Toastmasters meetings has given me an invaluable experience of being able to go into meetings now, and if somebody asks me what I'm doing, in 1 to 2 minutes, to be able to come up with a cogent statement about what I did during the week. And then last but not least here is that leadership. The portion of Toastmasters that I didn't think I was going to join Toastmasters for, but I get so much gratitude out of now. A little story for you. When I became the president for the first time of my Toastmasters club, a position that I really didn't think I was ready to do, which I don't know if anyone thinks they're ready to be president. At the same time, though, I was asked to lead a team at work. I had never led a team at work before. So we had the presidency and we had team leadership all coming to one. And I just told myself, I just don't know all the answers. Well, what I found out being a president at Toastmasters is I didn't need to know all the answers. I needed to listen and then enable the team around me to give the answers and to move the club forward. It wasn't all on me all the time. And that was a valuable lesson I was able to bring to the project that I was leading at work as well. So presentation, speaking impromptu, and also the leadership impact of Toastmasters. Now, let's not forget the social aspect of this too, Vera. We not only have the icebreaker, but icebreakers in social situations. I found myself, as I said in the meetings, I wasn't the one to break the ice in social situations. Now, going from meetings, I know that I can start a conversation. I know that I can carry on a conversation. So I'm not afraid to approach those social situations. And then lastly, with the social situations, meeting people within the district. Vera, I met you before Bentley, but now we're working together to form the Bentley Club. And so many other great people I met and learned from in Toastmasters all came to me through this organization that I wouldn't have met if I was not a member of Toastmasters, and will not meet in the future if I don't continue to be a member of Toastmasters.
Thank you for sharing the importance of the social aspect of Toastmasters and starting a small talk, breaking the ice. A fabulous, fabulous thing to have, Toastmasters Kristen. Toastmasters Kristen, on this one, we move on to a third section, which is why should our guests watching the show join Toastmasters? In your view, what is the one thing or two things that you'd like to share to our guests who's watching this show?
Wow, and we only have one or two things here. There's so many things on the list, but let me remain focused on why, if I was not in Toastmasters, I would tell myself to join Toastmasters. First of all, as I stated, comfort with public speaking. This is an experiential learning program, and that is the core of Toastmasters. Doing it over and over again, getting your reps. If you played a sport, You have to practice over and over, and before you know it, it's just instinctual. It just comes to you. So that's number one. Experiential learning, get those reps in, get comfortable with speaking, and then those scenarios that you used to project into the future that you couldn't handle, you've seen them before. You've practiced those scenarios before, so you're not going to be intimidated when somebody asks you to speak. Second of all, homing that message delivery, as I indicated, getting to the point. The other aspect of Toastmasters is you can have the best technical content. You could be like me, plowing through those PowerPoint slides, leading bullet point by bullet point. You're not going to engage the audience. You're in a Toastmasters club. Part of the evaluation portion of the meeting is to give you that feedback. Did you engage the members in the message you wanted to give them? Not just the technical content. That's not really the point of the meeting. So getting that feedback on how you're engaging the audience. And then finally, those leadership skills. Two in particular, I would say, for anyone who has to run a meeting, whether that's in work, a volunteer organization, each meeting, if you're the Toastmaster in the meeting, you're the one who organizes the meeting, you get people to fulfill roles, you make sure that meeting runs on time. So meeting management. And then lastly, if you're a project manager doing any kind of project management work or otherwise, club leadership as an officer or even outside as a area director, division director, fantastic skills, meeting people, working with different personality types, and then bringing everyone together to form that cohesive team.
Thank you for sharing so many points about Toastmasters, and I hope our guests can go and join Toastmasters, a club close to their home or work, and reap all the benefits that you were talking about, Toastmasters Christian. Toastmasters Christian, now we enter the fourth segment of our talk show, which is the rapid fire round. Are you ready for some fun?
I'm ready for some fun, Vera. I've been having fun the whole time.
Toastmasters Christian, a historic leader that inspires you a lot.
A historic leader. That's going to take a lot of thought, and that's hard to pinpoint one person. What I'd like to say is to categorize the personality and the leadership style of my favorite historic leaders. And what I would have to say is a leader who puts the greater good in front of themselves. Now, we have so many different examples of those. We have our American presidents, we have JFK, we have Martin Luther King Jr. What I'm thinking of in particular are leaders in both of our Western and Eastern religion figures who are putting themselves before others. Also, some of our modern leaders as well, who sacrifice physically, mentally, financially for the greater good of others. They're putting themselves out there, they're putting themselves at risk, and they're putting all of their self-interest aside to make the society or the greater good better. And there's several people that I can think of that come to mind, some of the names I just said then. But that's the characteristic of a leader that I really admire.
Thank you for sharing that, Toastmasters Christian. A historic speech that is close to your heart.
An historic speech close to my heart. Well, the speeches that come to mind are the ones that are the famous speeches we learn in school. And I know Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream. I would say that is a very famous speech that I admire and I think of first. But what I'd like to give you today, Vera, is a speech that I think is going to become a historic speech. If we think back not too long ago of Amanda Gorman's 2021 inauguration poem, I have to tell you, they say a great speech is one you might not remember all the details of the message, but you remember the way it made you feel. And every time I think of that poem, as I was listening to it, I got chills. And when I think of it, there were certain parts of that poem, the way that Amanda presented herself, the energy, the youthfulness, the optimism, so many aspects of that speech just touched me. And when I think of historic speeches, I think of this speech as one that is going to be one for the history books.
That's a wonderful choice. A couple of our members who come on the talk show also mentioned about that speech. Thank you for sharing that, Toastmasters Christian. Your personal speech that you enjoyed delivering to Toastmasters, any speech that comes to mind?
One that comes to mind immediately, and you'd say, how is that my favorite speech? And let me explain. It's a speech about snowblower follies. So what is a snowblower folly? The reason I like this speech so much, it's literally about an experience I had with a single stage snowblower that was overworked that I ended up destroying. And the journey of how I ended up destroying the snowblower as I went around my property trying to clear 2 feet of snow with it, which it was not made for. Let me tell you why that speech comes to mind. It's a very ordinary story, but that is the speech that I ended up going to the division contest for. And that's one of the reasons it's so memorable. It was one of the first speeches that I developed continually. I didn't just give once, I put layers on top of it. So it went from a matter-of-fact story that I happened to got lucky and won in my club and moved to the area. And I said, well, I have to work on this a little more. I have to get better at vocal variety. I had a little bit of humor in. I had some body language that I put into the speech. So the speech went from just telling it like it was to more of a story, and to me, developing as a speaker during that speech, giving those intangibles, the appeal not just to the logical left side of the brain, but to the right side of the brain, emotions, and using the body language and the vocabulary in the speech to make it a better speech.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing the importance of a speech contest. We can see how speech gets transformed to the next level and also incorporate such great things on Toastmasters. Thomas Christian, a book that you like to recommend to our audience?
Well, it really, these are all depends questions here. I can go on forever about these, but the one that I think of that very timely that I've been reading a lot of self-improvement books, as I said in the beginning, it's the book, What Great Salespeople Do, The Science of Selling Through Emotional Connection and the Power of Story. Now, why do I like this book so much? Well, I've been reading about sales in general, and this book is great because it fuses both sales and storytelling. As I said in the beginning, I want to get better at storytelling. And they have, most of the book goes through how to actually engage that right side of the brain and tell an emotional story, get people's interest and hook their interest, which is what we try to do in Toastmasters here. So it's the connection between the self-improvement aspect of trying to get better at sales, reading that for self-improvement, and then the other aspect of storytelling, which is something that I feel is a valuable skill in Toastmasters as well. And reading that book and taking some of the storyboarding techniques they use in there, it's not only valuable for anyone who wants to do sales, I think it's valuable to any Toastmasters in general. And the authors are Michael Bosworth and Ben Zoll.
Thank you for sharing that, Toastmasters Christian. We'll definitely take that book out. A comfort food that is very, very close to your palate.
Ooh. Anything Italian. I like so many different foods. I would have to say comfort foods or Parmesan. So chicken Parmesan, eggplant Parmesan, veal Parmesan, any of those Parmesans with some pasta, that's a comfort food for me. But I'm not just limited to Italian. I love my Mexican and I love my Japanese sushi as well.
Great choice. I love eggplant Parmesan personally. A restaurant that you like to recommend to our audience, Toastmasters Christian?
Well, my favorite restaurant was actually where I grew up and they closed. It was called Maison Olay, and they had fantastic Mexican combination dishes. I did find a place out in Massachusetts, in Somerville. It's called Taco Loco. They are a great Mexican place where you can get a lot of Mexican food that you wouldn't find at a normal restaurant. I'd recommend trying them out. And then if anyone wants to do sushi, I probably like this because it's right down the block from me. It's called the Sable. And I think they have a couple of different locations as well. So check out Taco Loco for some different Mexican food that you're not going to find at the store or at a typical restaurant. And if you like sushi, give the Sable a look.
Thank you for sharing that, Toastmasters Christian. This ends up our rapid fire round. Anything else that you like to share with our district listeners, Christian?
Well, what I'd like to share is I'd like to thank you, Vera, for doing this open heart program. You can go out as a Toastmaster member and go and read all of the information on Toastmaster International, educate yourself on how to give better speeches. But until you hear people opening up about what Toastmasters have done for them, you don't really know what it can do for you. And Vera, this show, even if it brings one person in, they say, if that did that for a guest on Vera's show, that could do that for me as well. This show is a huge success. So I want to thank you for putting this on and bringing the content about what Toastmasters has done for individuals that isn't necessarily captured in the educational content that you can get online. So thank you, Vera, and I'm looking forward to hearing many of your future guests and what Toastmasters could do for them as well.
Thank you, Toastmasters Krishna, with kind words. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to come down and talk to us. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Vera. Great being with you today.
Thank you, Toastmasters Christian. Dear viewers, that was my good friend Toastmaster Christian sharing his Toastmasters journey, his comfort food, the self-help books that he really cherishes, and the wonderful things Toastmasters has brought to him. If you would like to come and talk to us on our talk show, please do mention your name in our comment section. If you would like to see your favorite Toastmaster talk to us, do mention their name in our comment section. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get notified with new content that comes. Please do press the bell icon to get new content. I am Veera Sriram, your public relations manager. Please do count how many arms I had in my interview. I like to have a clean slate. Until our next episode, bye bye.